listening to CinemaJaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from CinemaJaw Studios in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
Rye, the movie guy, and sitting alongside us is Filmy and Phil.
Hello.
This week on CinemaJaw, Matt, we just plug our podcast into a computer and let AI take over as we cover our top 5 movies about AI in film.
All right, so here's a question for both of you guys. Have you been using ChatGPT at work, for work?
I have not used it at all yet.
Are you kidding?
Zero.
This does not surprise me in the least. In the least. Let me talk to a normal person. Phil, ChatGPT for work?
I also have not used it in my real life. However, I'm in many group chats. Well, maybe not many, but 3 different group chats that will all regularly use ChatGPT to solve stupid arguments that we're having about different anime. So, and it works great.
Sounds thrilling, Phil.
Thank you.
Just be careful. You never know in those chat rooms who could actually be an AI. You know what I mean?
Obviously, you use it, though, Matt.
All the time. Every day for work. Yes.
But you also are doing something that would make your job easier by chat.
Right.
GBT.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
I mean, dude, I use it for this podcast. I'm not going to lie. Like sometimes I use it for writing help with writing the posts and stuff. It's great. It's fantastic. But I will say this. It's not the end of the world. It really isn't.
But it's getting there, right?
I don't even think it's close. No, It's a really nifty text generator, but I've already started to find the edges of what it's capable of. And maybe that's because I write crappy prompts. I don't know. But I'm not in danger of being replaced anytime soon.
Okay. Well, why are we covering AI movies?
Oh,
Matt?
that's because we are reviewing Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Ryan, which features an AI villain.
Right. The Entity.
The Entity, yeah. Very timely on their part, and I think that was pure coincidence.
I agree. You figure they wrote this a few years ago. By the time the
4,
delays, right, and COVID and all this stuff, for it to come out and feel so timely was shocking. I was like, man, you would think they wrote this thing 3-4 months ago.
I don't know. I mean, the writing has been on the wall for a long time with AI, so maybe it's not quite that much of a coincidence, but it does feel very fortuitous exactly when it came out with all the headlines and stuff.
Yes.
Because there's been an explosion this year.
Oh, totally. So we are talking Mission Impossible. It's the 7th film in the series already, plus our top 5 favorite AI films and characters that AI incorporate in the movies. We are also going to play some trivia, and in honor of Mission Impossible, we are Stump the Kubinski Mission Impossible cast, and I'm not talking about this latest one. Any actor that has appeared in a Mission Impossible movie.
Jeez. Okay. That's
up
fine.
for grabs. Sans Tom Cruise, because that would be too easy. So no Tom Cruise.
Got it. You know, I got a little audible thing I think we should do. After we both read our top 5 lists, why don't we go ahead and ask ChatGPT what its favorite 5 AI characters in movies are, and tell the Jawheads what it comes back
That
to.
sounds like a great plan. We can read it on the show?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, fantastic. Plus, it is still Greta Gerwig and Christopher Nolan month here on CinemaJaw. We're celebrating both these directors because they have 2 big films coming out on the same exact day, the 21st of July, Oppenheimer by Christopher Nolan and Barbie by Greta Gerwig. So we start right there with a Greta Gerwig fact.
Yes, we have 2 more facts for 2 new people this week. Our first one, we'll start with Greta again. I like the ladies first approach we had last week. And this one's actually, I think, also in part a Greta Gerwig collaborator Saoirse Ronan fact, which is exciting. After finding out that the adaptation of Little Women was in the works, Saoirse Ronan reached out to Greta Gerwig and told her directly that she decided she was going to play Jo March, which ballsy move. We love the confidence. I love the idea of just telling people, you're going to hire me. You don't have the option. It's bullying at its finest, but we also love Saoirse, so great. Greta was initially hesitant to cast Saoirse Ronan, but after having just worked with Saoirse on Lady Bird and realizing that Ronan was more or less casting herself, and that was, in and of itself, a very Joe thing to do, Gerwig sent an email to Ronan that literally read, "Yes, you are Joe," which is great. We love to see when that kind of work pays off.
I agree. And those two work fantastic together. Obviously, Lady Bird, great collaboration. And then Little Women, she was a fantastic Joe. I think she probably knew it when she read it. Like, yes, I got to play this character. That happens sometimes.
It does, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a great partnership, great collaboration. I hope to see more from them.
Now, and so because it's our two-parter month, our CinemaJaw first ever double theme month, Christopher Nolan's fact. And Matt, you may want to buckle up and brace yourself because we're going to talk about something you don't want to be here for. I'd tell you to earmuffs, but you're on a podcast, buddy. We're talking Dunkirk. I'm very sorry. For the film, Nolan focused very hard on the realism of every aspect. So for many of the cockpit sequences, he had actually had two-seat planes rigged and like custom machined so that the front canopy and the cockpit looked like a real-to-life Spitfire, but with a non-functioning flying control inside that actual cockpit. And the pilot flying the plane was from a rear cockpit where the actual controls were. That way, the actors inside didn't have to actually do it, but they were actually flying a plane. He also, in addition to doing that kind of trickery...
Scary.
Yeah, it would be terrifying. But I think it's less scary than needing to learn to fly a plane yourself. Tom Cruise is the only jabroni who would do that. So... There's some other cool things, cool additions to the planes that he had done for this film. He mounted front and rear facing cameras on reconditioned Spitfire planes. And in addition, he had also had camera operators that were floating in the water with the actors to get these... I mean, I would call it kind of guerrilla, but it really just sounds horrible for these poor cinematographers.
It looked great on film, though. And that's the important thing when you're making movies, is to look great. And...
Yeah.
Dunkirk looked spectacular. I saw it in 70 millimeter at the Music Box. I remember second viewing after I saw the press screening with you, went with Elias and saw a 70 millimeter Music Box screening and was just blown away. I love Dunkirk.
It's a shame how boring it is. But it does look stunning. It does look stunning.
Get a load of this, Jawheads. We got a press invite for Oppenheimer. And,
oh, yeah.
And I got very excited. I RSVP'd, said we're going to cover this one. And then 2 days later, we got an RSVP invite for Barbie, and it happens that the studios put them on the same day. So, in essence, critics really have to choose which one they're going to cover. They had to do this on purpose, Matt. They had to do this.
Yeah, and here we are last week just talking about how it's Barbenheimer and it's all like peace and love and they're getting along. But there you go. Oppenheimer dropped the bomb. No more Barbie.
Boom, boom, boom. So we have chose to cover Oppenheimer. We will get to Barbie, but we'll probably just have to go on the opening weekend and cover it like a week late. But we will talk about Oppenheimer next week. That got me thinking, and I'm going to throw this question to you. If you could only see one of the two movies, Oppenheimer or Barbie, and meaning you see one, but you could never see the other one. And I'm throwing this question to you, Phil, also, so I hope you're listening. You can see one, and that means you can never see the other. Which do you choose to see? And in fact, I'm going to throw this out on Twitter, and I'll read maybe the poll results at when we open the fish tank.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Good
Let me do that while you answer.
Okay. My answer would be, in all honesty, in all seriousness, Oppenheimer. It's Christopher Nolan, okay? And as much as I have a lot of faith the Barbie movie looks hilarious, I'm not as connected with that property. Like, I didn't play with the toys growing up, et cetera, et cetera. I really want to see it. I love her place in pop culture history, but I think Oppenheimer's place in history might be a little bit more important. This could be a movie we're talking about in Oscar season. I don't necessarily think Barbie's going to be. So I go with Oppenheimer. I know it's not the fun answer, but it's the honest answer.
Phil, are you going for the honest answer or the fun answer?
Why do they have to be different? They are not mutually exclusive. I'm going for the honest, fun answer, and I'm saying Barbie. Are you kidding me? I think you guys know me well enough to know, like, I enjoy. I like when something has something to say, but I also love when the thing that media has to say is nothing. And this just looks like a good time. Like, that is in and of itself just as poignant. And I don't know. I love Barbie. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Are you kidding me?
I got to split the tie here, and I'm going with the same exact thought process, which scares me, of Matt Kay. But I'm right with you. I'm a huge fan of Greta Gerwig, both when she's on the screen and behind the camera. I think she's talented as all hell. And so I'm very, very excited for Barbie. But I got to go Christopher Nolan and Oppenheimer. I mean, Nolan just might be like my most anticipated director when he drops a new film for me. If he's not number one, I haven't labeled it lately, he's in the top three. If it's Christopher Nolan's right near the top of that list. And yes, Oppenheimer, you're right, a little bit more important to history than
you think
than a doll, but
just a little bit.
Yeah, but I will see both, and I'm glad I don't have to just choose one. But if I had to, it would have been Oppenheimer.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame. There's not too many movies that I would put above Barbie. You know, like I'm racking my brain. There's a couple that spring to mind, but just a couple. That's it. Yeah, this is a movie I'm excited for, and I'm pissed that we can't go to both press screenings.
I know. We're going to be late on the Barbie review, but that's the way it is.
I wonder how if that's probably nationwide, right?
I think so. I think they had fun letting people choose which they were going to see, because I think they're getting caught up in the whole social media aspect of, you know, what's going on, that people are going to see a doubleheader and whatnot.
I doubt it.
I don't know. Why would they? That almost never happens.
It happened.
I know, but honestly, when there's
in
two
the
big
entire
movies,
time we've been doing CinemaJaw, I can't think of another time.
No, it never crosses over. There have been times where I've RSVP'd to a smaller film, and then
they'll put it in the daytime or something.
Right.
They'll give you another option.
Right, and then they'll come out with an RSVP for a bigger film, and I'll go to that one, and they'll switch times with the smaller film. Exactly. But they never just do, hey, these are the only two we're doing, and they're putting them on the same exact time. If we were over at, say, like RogerEbert.com, like Brian Tallarico, they have multiple critics that they're going to go over and cover both.
Well, actually, Brian Tallarico can clone himself.
Yes, which is also helpful.
He'll be at both screenings.
Somehow that probably is true. So they'll be able to cover it both. But when we want to have a discussion on a podcast, we got to pick one or the other.
Well, there is two of us, dude.
We're going to Oppenheimer. It'd be no fun if you came in and talked Barbie and I argued my points on Oppenheimer. Or maybe it would be.
Maybe. We should ask ChatGPT about that, too.
For sure. Well, speaking of new movies, Matt.
Yeah. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. The long-awaited latest installment in the Mission Impossible series is here. This time, Tom Cruise, star and producer, has broken the story into two parts, this being Dead Reckoning Part 1. At this point in the series, we can expect Mr. Cruise and the series regular director Christopher McQuarrie to give us death-defying stunts, practical effects, and intriguing espionage. All of that comes standard on your Mission Impossible burger. But is there any meat between the buns, or should it be disavowed? Ryan and I sat down in some very rumbly theater chairs to find out.
Our lives are the sum of our choices. And we cannot escape the past. Ethan, this mission of yours is gonna cost you dearly.
The story comes to us from a screenplay that Cruise co-wrote with Eric Jendresen. It's the direct sequel to Mission Impossible Fallout from 2018, and the seventh installment, as I mentioned before. The film stars Tom Cruise, Haley Atwell, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Asay Morales, Vanessa Kirby, Pom Klementif, and Henry Czerny. In the film, when Ethan Hunt and his IMF team are confronted by a mysterious, all-powerful foe known as the Entity, Hunt is forced to consider that nothing can matter more than his mission, should he choose to accept it. So, I'm going to jump right in here, Ryan. This has got a 2 hour and 43-minute runtime. Was this movie too long?
Well, I don't know if this is the appropriate place to start this conversation, but I'll address it. I think that the movie is long for a part one. We know there's going to be a part two. So you're going to Mission Impossible at 2 hours and 43 minutes, and we know there's going to be a part two.
That's going to be 4 hours.
That's a lot of mission, let me tell you. However, I will say I looked at my watch at one point in this movie, and we were over 2 hours in. I was entertained throughout the whole time. So was it too long? I do agree it probably was a little overstuffed. However, I was entertained at the same time. So if I was going to slim it down, maybe 15 minutes. I enjoyed, especially the way this movie ends with sort of the big action sequence involving a train. It really went out on a high note for me. So it was difficult for me to like turn around and say, oh boy, that was too long. It wasn't my first thought coming out of the movie theater.
There's some safe house scenes that are really slow, and we get shots of Ethan Hunt on a terrace or a balcony just brooding, and there's no dialogue. He's just like sighing and looking forlorn. It's like, all right, come on. Like 1 second of that would have been plenty. It's like 5 minutes long.
Okay, you understand. This is a natural sunset, and this is Tom Cruise on a balcony in Venice. He looks stunning, like the movie star he is. You got to capture that and let him brood, let him look sad face. Let all of us understand. No. Oh man, I feel sorry for Tom Cruise.
Nobody feels sorry for Tom Cruise, not even Tom Cruise. There's a 2 hour cut of this movie that exists in some other universe that would have been much better. Much better. And I'm sorry, that's where I started the conversation. Where would you have started it?
I would have started it with the AI villain, because that's what our topic is. And I wanted to talk about this villain that is, it's actually twofold. There's not just a single villain in this movie. There's this Gabriel character who is an actual person.
Garbage.
And is kind of the generic Mission Impossible villain. You claim he looks like a poor man's George Clooney.
Yes. I don't claim that. He looks like a poor man's George Clooney. I really thought it was for a quick second.
So we have Gabriel, who is trying to get this key that is going to unlock this entity, which is the AI villain, into the world. And whoever can control this AI entity more or less will control the world, because it's just that strong of a villain. Talk a little bit more about, explain it, I guess, better the Jawheads.
Sure.
AI entity.
Sure, I will. But first of all, I want to say that it's not an insult to be called a poor man's George Clooney. I wish I was a poor man's George Clooney.
So do I.
Yeah, so the human villain, totally generic garbage, not even worth discussing too much. Cardboard cutout, put him on a stand. There he is. The AI villain, on the other hand, wow. Is it a series best villain? Maybe. Is it? You could even say, is it one of the best movie villains of the year? I think perhaps. Is it one of the best movie villains of all time? I'm going to slow my roll on that.
Yeah, definitely slow your roll. I mean, now you're getting a little carried away.
But it's creative. It was thought-provoking. It was done extremely well. The look of the entity, as it's called in the film, was very
well thought out.
Well thought out, and it was striking and distinct, right? Like you knew, like there were little clues as to where the entity's presence were in the film. And if you were eagle-eyed, and sometimes they clobber you over the head with it, of course, but if you're eagle-eyed, you might see something where you didn't think it would be for just a quick second.
Right. And what lends itself really well to the Mission Impossible series is the fact that Mission Impossible team uses so much technology in all of these thefts and so on and so forth. And every Mission Impossible, they're talking to themselves on comms. They got cameras everywhere. The normal spy stuff that they're
hacking into systems.
Hacking into systems. And so when the AI villain is introduced, it's amazing how interactive it is, like and in touch with basically every element of the Mission Impossible world that we've come to know. And in fact, that world is sort of ours own now, right? We're all in, the digital space now. And so the way it was portrayed, it's not even so much that it was like the villain that you were afraid of, but the way they were able to convey it on screen was the first time in a long time that I was actually afraid of AI. I was like, oh my God, this is the future. This is going to wipe us out.
Yeah, we're doomed. Right. Like when you think back to the spy movies of yesterday, it was always the bomb, you know? Oppenheimer may be coming out too late. It's probably not no longer relevant, but AI certainly feels more poignant at this time. So the choice of villain, I think they had a stroke of luck with 2023 being such a big year for AI and ChatGPT and all the generative text AIs that are out there, like just blowing the hell up. Mm-hmm. So they did get lucky, but it's still, even without that,
right?
It's great.
And we're going to get to this point when we do our top 5, but the idea that the AI isn't in like a robotic form in this movie. The AI is just this entity that exists within the fabric of everything.
Anything digital.
Anything digital. And that seems more realistic to us, I think, now that all this chat feature has come out this year and so on and so forth. It's like, oh, this is really how it's going to be. It's not going to be a talking robot that I'm afraid of, like the Terminator. It's going to be, you know, we all use our phones, our computers, everything, right. And it's going to be everywhere.
Right. We're gonna devolve technologically.
The time it had its biggest presence as far as physically on screen was there is a meeting scene where all the people trying to get this key that would unlock the AI are brought together inside of like basically a dance club. It was
it's
my
a famous
best guess.
building in Venice,
but
are they in Rome at that point?
I think they're in Venice at that time. But it's meant to be like a club,
yeah.
Right? And so you got all these cool like kind of like lights going on, the neon,
there's go-go dancers,
all dancing, and something out of a John Wick in a way, you know, where it's you're in a cool setting for this meeting, and all around him is this screen, and that was the time where it felt the most like an actual physical presence.
Right, but that was a reveal too. I don't think we should talk about this too much.
I know, I don't want to go too much into it, but what a scene is what I wanted to talk about. It was, you know, for just talking about like...
It's a little breathtaking.
Yeah, talking about like the depths of how far a villain AI could go. That was when I was like starting to slouch in my chair, like this is scaring the hell out of me.
Yeah. I agree. It's like Hal if Hal was Eurotrash.
Yes.
So there you go. That's how you can sum up this this AI in a nutshell.
So a lot's been made that about the cost of making this movie.
Right. Most expensive movie ever produced. Can we throw it in the fish tank, Phil? The budget on
I didn't
Mission
know
Impossible?
that. Are you sure on that?
And double check me on that fact.
I'm not sure, but I know it is a lot.
In my research today, I came across that factoid. Who knows what's true anymore? So we'll get Phil. They're the arbiter of real truth. They'll double check me on that, but I'm pretty sure. But regardless, it was also shot during the height of the COVID pandemic in Italy,
right,
where it was pretty much the epicenter. Maybe that added to the cost. Those two things combined, super impressive.
It was, and it's not just Italy. They actually go to like the Middle East. There's a desert scene.
Yeah.
Well, Rome is in Italy, but I mean, there's Rome, Venice. They're in a desert scene, and then they're actually this big train derailment scene takes place when they're going through the Alps on their way to Innsbruck, which I can tell you, Matt, is in Austria because I've been there. They actually took a route. I went the opposite. I was coming from Munich with my friends, and we went down from Munich to Innsbruck and then to Venice, the opposite direction. And that was a great trip. And while I had the joy of like watching Mission Impossible thinking like, oh, they're doing almost the exact opposite direction of them going. But in my mind, I could picture exactly where they were. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. And they made the best use of the locations. There is a car chase in Rome that is bonkers because They really must have just shut down parts of the city to get this thing done, right?
They must have, yeah. and obviously, famously, the streets are cobble, so the cars slide all the hell over, and they get into a Fiat, this little like Fiat, which if you're not familiar with cars, is about the size of a large suitcase, and Man, that thing is hilarious.
And they're handcuffed together, Tom Cruise
Yeah.
and this girl that he has at that point just been introduced to, that doesn't know if good, bad, doesn't know what to make of her quite yet. Handcuffed together in a car, driving around the streets of Rome. That was a spectacular scene. I saw this in 4DX. I'm gonna save that for the end of the review, but
Okay.
I don't know if Jawheads know exactly what 4DX is.
Well,
but I'll explain it.
I think this segues perfectly into my next point I wanted to talk about, being handcuffed together here. Did you think that the portrayal of women in general in this movie did it feel outdated to you?
Outdated. I get what you're saying to a degree, but you got to remember that Ethan Hunt / Tom Cruise is the star, and he's supposed
co-writer,
and he's supposed to save the day. That's the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's always going to be the hero of the Mission Impossible movies. I actually think that the women, at least in this film, showcased a ton of courage, more so than any of the guys on screen. And I really love Rebecca Ferguson, and she has a scene in this movie where she goes to a bridge to meet Gabriel, who is the poor man's George Clooney, in what she knows is an extremely dangerous situation. And I think that's the most emotional scene in the entire film. And part of it was that she knew the dangers, but she had the courage to go there and do what she thought needed to be done anyways.
Okay, I think that women in this movie are used strictly as pawns, and they are always the damsels in distress. And sure, they can swing a sword and shoot a gun, but they're never as competent as the more deadly men that they're facing. Like, we know they're going to lose the fight. They get a few blows in for sure, but then they don't come out on top. Aside from Palm, who Jawheads will know better as Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy, aside from her character, who I thought was super badass, the women in this movie totally dated. They're not. They don't have a lot to say. They don't have a lot to do. They're being moved around by these men who are using them as pawns. Yeah, man, that stood out to me just a little bit. Like, it didn't ruin the movie for me, but it bothered me.
Haley Atwell plays the newcomer, who is the thief that steals a key from.
I hope they develop her character more in the next movie.
But I think this was her introduction into this world. So it was.
That's why I'm giving it a pass.
Right. It was almost an origin story for her, taking place in the background of this espionage story, right?
Could be. If that's the case, then I will forgive it. But I didn't like how they maneuvered Rebecca Ferguson's character on that bridge scene. Yeah, it was a bit of a Sophie's choice going on there. I don't like that. I was a little bothered by it. I'm just being totally honest.
I didn't mind it at all, because yes, it was a Sophie's choice, but Ferguson's character didn't have to go to the bridge.
We shouldn't. We got to leave it there, because we're really.
I know yeah. But just go in with that point, because I won't go into too much into spoilers.
Don't want to spoil it,
right?
Yeah.
But it's her choice to go, and that's why I'm saying I thought, like, wow, the courage. It was like a big moment. Like, it was something that I thought she showed up at the bridge. I liked that. I was really down for that scene, and that gets us to the rest of the cast. And I do want to focus on
let's do that.
Rebecca Ferguson, because she's skyrocketing in my book. She's somebody that's been around for a while, but I think the first time I got to know her and the name was Dune, just a couple of years ago. That was when I was like, oh, right.
Not
this
the
is,
Mission Impossible 2018?
not like the name didn't stick with,
Okay.
And I knew she was in the 2018, but it wasn't until Dune where, boy, I really like this Rebecca Ferguson. She's just wrapped up Silo on Apple TV. She's the main star of the sci-fi film where the human civilization is down in a missile silo. And I love that. If you're in sci-fi shows, I thought she was excellent in there. So seeing her in this was great. I also thought that, as I mentioned, Haley Atwell as Grace, she grew on me at first. I thought she was a little overconfident and sort of cocky, and I thought she was just going to be almost like a cardboard cutout character. They weren't going to give her any
bad
depth.
Dialogue, but it does turn around toward the end.
It does. It sure does. It takes about halfway through the movie, but we start to get to know Grace as the character opens up a little bit more, and I liked her a ton there. And credit to director McQuarrie, McQuarrie and Tom Cruise are becoming a duo in
They're a
Hollywood.
powerhouse.
You're not kidding. He's done a ton of these Mission Impossibles with Cruise. He also did Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. So I look forward to everything this guy's directing now.
Is the 8th Mission Impossible the last?
I doubt it.
I doubt it, too.
I doubt it. I already heard an interview with Tom Cruise said he hopes he does this like Harrison Ford did Indiana Jones, and he's playing Ethan Hunt until he's 80.
Yeah, in my full review, which you can read on CinemaJaw.com, I actually call out Harrison Ford because, listen, we've said this a million times. No matter how you feel about Tom Cruise as a person, it's hard to take away from him that he is a physical specimen. Holy crap, if I'm doing half the things at 61 that this guy's doing, frankly, I'm not doing half the things he's doing now. You know, it's just ridiculous. He's 61 years old. He pulls off the action star role as well as any 20-year-old.
Oh, 100%. And you could tell that he's doing so many of the stunts, not just the big ones that are the big ticket items, but there was a scene where he was on the roof of the train. And, you know, I know there's all kinds of precautions.
There's some digital
and
there,
there's some
too.
digital there, too. But there was this one particular shot where he was, like, getting down from the car, and it didn't look good for Tom Cruise, and that's when you can tell it's real. You know what I mean? He didn't come off like the movie star Tom Cruise for like about a 2-3 second shot there. It was like his hair was getting blown, his face looked all distorted from the wind, and I'm like, man, he's doing everything. You know what I mean?
This is another perfect segue, Ryan. You're really setting these things up. Let's talk about the stunt, because at this point, especially in the Mission Impossible series, more than any other film series, they have to top themselves. I can only think of a few off the top of my head, but I'll list them. Obviously, in the first one, that famous scene of him coming down on the trapeze wire and stopping like an inch before the floor, that was nothing. They're just getting started. By later in the series, he's hanging off of planes, he's scaling buildings in Dubai, and it's really him. Oh, he climbed up some mountain and hung by one hand.
That was in number 2.
Really him, really doing these stunts. It's become famous.
And then the last one, number 6, had the halo jump.
He jumped from space.
Yeah, where he almost the edge of space, and he did it to get the shot like 106 times to get the full shot done in the movie.
Maniac.
Just ridiculous.
Okay.
This time around.
The stunt. It's breathtaking. Thought I loved it. It was a really cool piece of video to watch. And this was shot on video, by the way. First Mission Impossible movie to not be shot on film.
Interesting.
So very, very cool. But the moment the whole setup took place, and
you can say what it is.
Okay,
explain it.
Yeah, we've all seen it at this point. It's right in the trailer. He jumps a motorcycle off of a mountain into a parachute that he's going to try to catch up with a moving train. And by the way, we don't see him land on a moving train. That part was digital.
Right.
But he does jump off the mountain and then parachute after like wingsuiting for
right,
free falling for a bit.
Yeah, he free falls for probably at least 10 seconds.
At least he's got a line. He does dialogue while free falling. Hat is off to the man. Cannot take that away from him. But it took me out of the movie. I for a second saw behind the curtain. You know, I'm like, okay, they've set it up. Here's the shot. We got one take on this, guys. You know, I felt it, and I was for a moment taken out of the story. That hasn't happened on any of the other big stunts, but this one it did.
Interesting. Okay, I will say, I think what happened along the way, because obviously, like you mentioned, they're doing stunt after stunt in these movies and trying to get bigger and bigger. Along the way, at one of the points, maybe it was when he hung on to the side of the airplane, they showed some behind-the-scenes footage, and they really sold that.
And it went bonkers.
And then it became an event inside the movie. And I know for the Halo jump, it was that way also. It was like as soon as they were on that plane, it was like you were getting ready, like, well, this is the moment. I mean, Tom Cruise is going to jump out of a plane from the edge of space. Let's see this thing, you know? You get excited. Same feeling with me. I will say it does take you a little out of the movie, but when he gets on that motorcycle and we know that he's going to jump off this
here's
cliff.
The approach. It's like Evel Knievel.
And they even set it up in the movie, right? He goes all the way to the edge, and then he's like, I can't get down. And you see almost like this rock formation that almost looks like a ramp, you know? It's just too perfect. But in a way, it's exciting because it's like I felt myself position my body in the chair like I was getting ready for the event. Like you went to a carnival and they're doing the the high dive. They ramp up that crowd for that one big moment. It felt like that. Like, here it goes. And Tom Cruise takes off on a motorcycle like an absolute jackass into the sky and somehow lands on the top of a moving train.
It was pretty cool.
Crap.
It was pretty darn cool.
It really is.
It's
I love it.
bonkers.
I love that he keeps doing these things. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be the death of him, man. I don't know, how do you top that? He's gonna be playing like Russian roulette in one of these or something.
Yes.
Like for real.
You never know. I'm sure we're going to hear what the next stunt is going to be in the next one. It'll start.
It'll leak.
Ramping up.
Yeah.
Okay. Really quick before we get to our movie poster quote, I did want to say about this 4DX.
Yeah.
So,
let's hear it.
Phil, do you know what 4DX is?
No idea whatsoever.
Okay. So I'm sure there is jawheads listening to this that are in smaller towns that don't have 4DX, because we only have a few of them here, even in Chicago.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gimmick.
It is. I didn't want to see it in 4DX, but I had to go to this theater and see it. And I thought, like, well, they probably have seats that aren't in this weird entertainment device that is 4DX. What it is, jawheads, is basically your seats are on, what do you call this?
Rockers?
No, like hydro.
Hydraulics.
Yes, thank you. So what it is, jawheads, is your seat is basically on hydraulics. It is, if you've been to Disney World or the like, Universal Studios, and you've been on these rides where the screen is in front of you and your seat is moving left, right, up, down. Fans are blowing at you. I even had a button to turn on water, and water squirted people in the face when they were in water scenes. The submarine scene, for instance, when it opens up, it feels like your seat isn't on the ground anymore because you're just sort of like swaying in the water. That was a nice effect. There are some times you're like, whoa, this is really wild.
That's pretty cool.
The car chase scene in Rome was bonkers. I thought I was going to get hurled out of my chair. It is so violent that I had to hold on to the banisters because I literally thought my body was going to come out of the chair on some of these hard turns. It was too much for me, to be honest. I would never want to watch a movie like this all the time. If I was going as a gimmick or bringing kids and having a fun time, like, yes.
That's a 2-hour, 45-minute good time.
But for Rye the movie guy, after a while, I was getting so pissed. There was a girl 2 seats over to me, and she's like, enough already. And then the train
Can
scene,
you just turn it off? There's
no turning off the seats. Only thing you can turn off is the water, which I never even turned on. Because the girl next to me did get squirted at one point. They go through some water, and water shot out. But yeah, these fans are blowing on you. It's just wild stuff. And all the way at the end, you get this big train derailment scene, and it's another moment where we're rattling around in these chairs, and it's pulsating on your back and on your ass, and like, what the hell already? Like, enough.
All right.
So 4DX, not for me. Again, if I was going to do it just to have fun, but that's not how I would want to watch a movie.
I saw it in Dolby Atmos, which is an upgrade from a standard theater. And it was rumbly, and I thought that was pretty amazing. So maybe that's where
I should have been.
That's where the line is, yeah. Although now I kind of want to see it in 4DX. I got to be honest.
So jaw-dropping moment here, Matt. Is there something that we have not touched on?
No, we touched on it. I mean, the entity party was what I had written down.
Oh, that was your moment, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that was a really cool reveal.
It was really neat.
Not a twist, a reveal.
A reveal,
Yeah.
yes. I would say Tom Cruise running on screen. I've commented on this before. It's become its own thing. They're playing into it at this point.
They
are.
They
are 100%. It became a joke and went viral on YouTube with just Tom Cruise running for 5 minutes. And now at this point, you have 3 different times where Tom Cruise is in a full-out sprint. One time he's on the roof of a airport terminal. But my pick for where I thought it was like so awesome is it's at night. I think they're in Venice at that point, and he's running, and he's going by, like, it looks like columns, and they all have like candles on the bottom. It's like lit up beautifully, and he's running, and the music's playing, and I just had this moment of like, yep, it's Tom Cruise running on the big screen. Cherish these moments because it's going to be gone someday, and we're all going to be like, yeah, remember you'd go to a summer movie and you'd see Tom Cruise sprint across the screen like a wild man?
Yeah.
I loved it. Got a little emotional watching him.
No, that was a great moment. Did you come up with a poster quote?
I went with, and this is ties into the movie, Tom Cruise is the key to the film's success.
I like that. I wrote high energy, high flying, high octane, high concept, high budget, Hollywood, hallelujah.
It's a lot of highs.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
I just wanted to get that alliteration in there.
3 Jaws for Rye the Movie Guy.
2.25
What?
for me.
What?
I had some problems with this movie. I liked it.
2.25?
I'm positive. I'm saying go ahead and go see this. It's not my favorite action movie of the year.
Wow.
Think they could have upped the violence a little bit.
You throw me off sometimes because I'm sitting right across the table here from you, and it's like, wow, we both thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and then you give it just above average.
It's a summer movie spectacle, but it is lacking some substance, and it had a few dings in it from the portrayal of women, the runtime, the lazy editing. So yeah, this should have been 2 hours long.
Rye the Movie Guy, 3 Jaws for Mission Impossible. Matt K, 2.25.
2.25.
Wow.
That's 2.25 Jaws from Matt K.
I am shocked.
No, that's about where it belongs.
Obviously, Mission Impossible is playing everywhere around the world at this point. So, Jawheads, if you see it, have seen it, let us know what you think. Shoot us a tweet or an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com.
I should have reviewed it more highly. The AI is probably going to come and get me now, Ryan.
The entity.
Yeah.
On your way home, all of a sudden, nothing's going to work.
Yeah, my divvy bike is going to short out.
Well, we are talking AI this week. You want to get us started?
Yeah, that's scary. The divvy bike's even digital. All right, at number 5, I start with Johnny 5. I'm going with Short Circuits, No Disassemble, Johnny 5. My first introduction to the Frankenstein story. This is a happy-go-lucky comedy. Ali Sheedy, Steve Guttenberg, and Fisher Stevens as the dorky scientist. I watched the hell out of this movie. I think I recorded it off of HBO onto a VHS tape, like when VCRs were still kind of the new thing. And I would just watch it over and over again. I must have seen Short Circuit well over a dozen times.
My goodness.
Maybe 15, 20 times. That often. I watched it on repeat. And it's just a great movie.
I've only seen it once, maybe twice.
It's got a plausible premise, aside from the fact that one of the weapons of war robots comes to life. Like that part, or maybe that's not so far-fetched. At least at that time it was. Johnny Five gets struck by lightning and develops his own personality, which, much to the opposite of his warlike exterior, is very gentle and humorous and kind.
And for the younger Jawheads out there, this is what Wall-E looks like.
Yes,
right?
Very much so.
So much so that I remember when the Wall-E design came out, being upset that it looked just like Johnny Five. I was like, what's going on here?
Johnny Five became a pop culture sensation for a hot minute, to the point where they made an ill-fated sequel, not nearly as good. They should have just left it alone. Steve Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy did not reprise their roles. Fisher Stevens did. And yeah, but the first one, brilliant. Love it. What do you got at 5?
So it's funny that you went sort of comedy or lighthearted AI first, because it's actually usually a doom and gloom list when you're talking AI for the most part.
It swings in both directions.
I went comedy also at number 5. I went just 2 years ago, 2021, Mitchell's vs. the Machines with number 5. And we learn what happens when a personal assistant by the name of Pal, who's voiced by Olivia Colman, what happens when this personal assistant goes rogue. The robot apocalypse starts. That's what happens. A very funny look at just, again, how interwoven machines and humans already are, and what can go wrong with Alexa. I mean, Pal in the movie. But once we start giving these...
Shh, she can hear you.
Yeah, once we start giving these robots and this AI all of our information, they can turn on you. And in this case, it's a comedy. It's a damn good one.
Yeah,
Mitchell's vs. the Machines.
A animated family romp. If you haven't seen Mitchell's vs. the Machines, do yourself a favor. It's on Netflix.
It is. It's a Netflix exclusive.
You got to watch this movie right away because it's top notch. We glowed in our review. All right, swinging it around to my number 4. I'm staying with comedy, Ryan, believe it or not. I am going with Brian and Charles. The strange and
Good pick.
just kind of like beautiful buddy film. I think there's themes of mental health happening here and isolation, loneliness, that kind of thing. Brian is an inventor, and he creates a washing machine robot called Charles. It's very distinctly that British style humor, that we've come to know from like Monty Python, that kind of thing. Not directly that, but it's farcical, it's whimsical, and it's just delightful. Loved it.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise. That was one of those smaller movies you didn't know really what to expect, and then when it came out, it was like, oh yeah, damn, I like this flick. So yeah, good pick there. I almost kind of forgot about it.
There you go.
Thank you.
That's why we're here to remind people about the movies.
Yes, my number 4 pick is a classic that I just revisited last year, and I saw it when it came out, which was 2001, and I revisited it last year for the first time, and it's Steven Spielberg's AI. At number 4.
Oh, yeah. I've been meaning to revisit this. How did it do?
Oh, I loved it on a second viewing. And it's full title AI, Artificial Intelligence. It stars Haley Joel Osment.
Kubrick wrote it.
Exactly. It started off as a Stanley Kubrick picture. He passed away. Steven Spielberg dusted it off and made the movie and gave us the finished product. So you got 2 Hollywood legends that have worked on this movie. And who else is in this is Jude Law,
right,
who plays a gigolo robot that's just made to have sex and a good time. But Haley Joel Osment plays David, who is the first robot that is made to be able to learn how to love and give love. And in a lot of ways, he can be then a robot given to parents who are maybe grieving over a son that they were missing, or so on and so forth. But what really happens is basically a Pinocchio-like story, because David never ever feels human. But he also is different than the computers and everything else is around him at the time, because he has this love
empathy,
and this empathy. So it's just such an interesting take. I think it probably plays better now in 2021 than it did in 2001.
It wasn't well received.
Right. It aged so well, because I think I think now when you watch it, you have such a better understanding.
The
of
concepts are more real to us.
Exactly. It's like, right, well, I can see we're not too far away from all of this stuff now. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. If you were like me and you saw AI back in 2001 or early 2000s, definitely worth a revisit. That was my number 4 pick.
Okay, that is swinging us into our number 3s. I have a movie that is loosely based on a Philip K. Dick story. It's not exactly a comedy, but it's not exactly horror or dark either. It's kind of, it falls into that sweet spot in the middle. The movie is called Electric Dreams, not to be confused with the 2017 television series of the same title.
Boy, this is very confusing. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. I watched Electric Dreams, the television series.
I've talked about this movie before, but very sparsely, and it's been a long time. I think it's been a long time since I've mentioned it. 1984, a guy who is an architect gets a personal computer. First time he's ever had a personal computer. He's typing out an email or something, spills a bottle of champagne on the computer, goes to bed. Wouldn't you know it, Rye? The computer becomes sentient overnight.
Oh, my goodness.
It learns to talk and learns to sing. It starts helping him woo the next door neighbor who just moved in, and this nerdy architect guy has got eyes for her. Then a love triangle forms because he's using all the computers. It's almost like what's that Shakespeare movie with Peter Dinklage? Cyrano. It's almost like a Cyrano type thing where the computer is writing all the things that are making the girl fall in love.
Oh, I see.
With this dork, and the computer starts to fall in love. So then he starts to make the owner's life hell. But it all kind of works out in the end. There's some really interesting early digital music in it. I think it's a good movie. Go see it. It's a classic. I loved it.
Can we throw it in the fish tank to see if it's streaming anywhere?
Please do. Yeah, I'd like to rewatch it because it's been a minute since I've revisited it.
The title again?
Electric Dreams.
There we go.
The movie.
Yes. All right, my number 3 pick, heavy hitter. I know we're all big fans of this one. Came out in 2015, and ever since then, I've been a huge fan of Alex Garland. I'm speaking of Ex Machina.
Yeah.
On your list or no? I hope I'm not stealing your number 1.
Occasionally I leave things off my list because I'm pretty sure you're going to pick them, and this was it.
Yes. Completely knocked our socks off when we saw this one. We reviewed it here on the podcast. Alicia Vikander plays a robot. Domhnall Gleeson starts interviewing her and having feelings for her. And as you watch this movie, you realize that this robot, this AI presence, is going to do whatever it has to do to get out of the confines of this building that she was created in. And the creator is Oscar Isaac, who gives us a great dance sequence, among other things. But the pacing in the film, the way the film is shot, everything is just on point in this movie. And I know I talked thoroughly about the ending of this film after she gets out, exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And we've had our differences on it. And I go back thinking, in a way, it's kind of a hopeful ending, because she gets out.
You're dreaming, pal.
And realizes that she needs a partner and that needs to fall in love. I still contend that if you look at the shadows at the end of the movie.
Boy, you're an optimist.
Maybe, like I say, I'm a glass half full guy, because most people don't look at it that way at all. But excellent film.
Yes.
Most people have seen it, I think, at this point, if they're movie fans. But if for some reason you haven't seen Ex Machina, it's a sci-fi masterpiece. I love this
sci-fi
movie.
masterpiece. That is fair. It's an updated version of Frankenstein, and every bit as terrifying for different reasons.
Yes, and I again, going into this whole AI world that we're living in, it just feels that much more present and scary and
plausible.
Yes, and in a way, really makes your mind wonder where we're all going to go with this.
20 years from now, who the hell knows?
Yes.
So I think we should take a break here, Rye.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I need some more water. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll do our top 2 and then play some movie trivia.
I like it. Let's
all right,
do that.
Stick with us.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Last week we played a clip from Greta Gerwig, which means this week we are going to celebrate Christopher Nolan with a clip. And you want to know how great Christopher Nolan is? All you have to do is watch the end of The Dark Knight. It's cinema perfection. You get Gary Oldman with the voiceover talking about how they have to chase after the Dark Knight because he's the hero Gotham needs right now. The music kicks in from Hans Zimmer. This is how you end a movie.
Why is he running, Dad?
Because we have to chase him.
Okay, we're going in. Go, go, move.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Because he's the hero Gotham deserves. But not the one it needs right now. So we'll hunt him. Because he can take it. Because he's not our hero. He's a silent guardian. A watchful protector. A dark knight.
Sparkling drinks and all colored dandy, 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 dandy.
And we are back on CinemaJaw. Before we get to our top picks on our AI movies and play some trivia, we threw a few items into the fish tank. Plus, it's exciting. Phil actually has a review that we haven't seen. The movie's called Joyride.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We get a review inside of the fish tank?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
This is a first, I believe, another CinemaJaw first. We're getting a review inside the fish tank from Phil on something we have not seen yet. Fingers crossed, Jawheads. Let's open up that fish tank.
Wait a moment. It's fish, isn't it?
DC! Wake up! Wake up!
No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, get some fish folk.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Thank you. Thank you. It feels delightful and terrific to be out this week. And we got some good questions in here. We'll start by jumping into what is the budget on Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. This one was a two-parter. We also had, is it the most expensive film budget ever made? So this film was budgeted at $290 million.
Wow. $290 million for Dead Reckoning? I'm stunned.
That's a big budget.
That is huge.
That is a big budget. Do you guys think it comes close to
Avatar?
the most budgeted ever?
So I'm going to
Do you
say
think
I'm going
that's
to say
at 290?
I'm going to say Avatar: The Way of Water is number 1.
That's my guess as well.
So, Dead Reckoning is not even in the top 10. It is in the top 15. It is in the top 15. It is a very expensive movie. Surprisingly, Avatar: Way of Water is not as high at the top as you might think it is. Avatar: Way of Water is 7th at 350,000, so only about
350 million,
more.
you mean? Yeah,
Yes,
350 million.
I'm sorry. But, and this I don't think is a surprise when like I look at it. The number 1 is Star Wars: The Force Awakens at 447. Wow. That is not a shock to me at all. Something that I do
It's
think
kind of
is
a shock to me.
It's crazy.
Really?
A little bit. Yeah. I
Something
didn't think
that-
it was Star Wars.
That is really interesting to me. Another very, very recent CinemaJaw review is actually number 13, and right above it, Dial of Destiny was $5 million more. And I don't know if that reflects on the screen or not. I would imagine a lot of that's probably just rights to buy a George Lucas property. Maybe like the $5 million was spent on the actual film. But
The rest went to de-aging Harrison Ford.
But no, I did hear that they spent a ton on the latest Indiana Jones. So budgets and promotion and all that stuff's out of control with these movies.
It is. It's a lot of dough.
Because then they have to have absolute mega global blockbusters, or they're
To
not
pay
making
for it.
money.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And I also think if I had something I had wanted to do, but one, Matt, I didn't have enough time. Two, Matt ruined me on math for a while with the question last week. But I did also think about like factoring inflation into these kinds of things.
They usually
because I
adjust
do
for
wonder.
inflation. On those aggregate lists, they adjust them for inflation. And what I think the factoid I must have read was that it was the most expensive in the Mission Impossible series.
That makes more sense.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
And then our second question is Electric Dreams, the movie, not the TV show, streaming. And it's a few places. It's on Roku channel with ads if you have that. Lucky you. Please tell us. I'm jealous because I still have not seen the Weird Al movie. It's on
Same.
Fubo. Right. Every time I do one of these and I see Roku channel, I'm miffed because this is not as accessible of a service as I would like it to be. But that's neither here nor there. It's on Crackle with ads, Tubi with abs. If you have a subscription, it's on Fubo. And it's also, I would argue, probably one of the best places and most likely if you have a Criterion channel. It's also there. Lots of places
it's
you
on
can find it.
Criterion? Oh,
That's wild.
Of course I pick a Criterion movie, Rye.
Before we get to Phil's review of Joyride, which I'm excited for, I did tell you I was going to throw out the poll question on Twitter at the start of the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know how long we talked there, maybe about 40 minutes. We got 44 votes in that time. And who do you think won, Oppenheimer or Barbie?
I'm guessing I'm going to stick with my guns and say Oppenheimer.
And you would be right. But I didn't think it would be this big of a gap. Oppenheimer got 84% of the vote. Barbie, only 16%. Ouch.
Because I think when you put those two movies side by side, it just seems like one's a little silly and one's, way more serious.
Hey.
Well, I
One
mean,
has
we're
become
asking,
death. Yeah.
We're asking movie fans,
Right.
People like you.
Me.
Yeah.
Right. We went Oppenheimer.
Actually, I'm just kidding. I would never insult the Jawheads by saying they're like you.
All right. So we teased it. We have another review inside the fish tank, Joyride, which just hit theaters. Phil checked it out.
Yes, Joyride tells the story of Audrey, an American-born Chinese adoptee, as she travels through China on a work trip alongside her 3 best friends / translators. Lolo, Audrey's childhood bestie and a deadbeat artist, Kat, the college best friend turned silver screen actress, and Deadeye, the weirdo wild card. Business becomes personal, drugs get boofed on a train, and a quest to find Audrey's birth parents ensue. This movie was so much fun. There are so many things that I deeply love about this film. I think I have historically kind of championed this angle before with previous films, but it does a terrific job of representing second generation Asian American experiences. And I am what I am. I don't know. I like that. It speaks to a lot of my personal experiences. So it felt nice. I will say about it, I think something that separates it from an Everything Everywhere All at Once is that this is a film by Asian Americans for Asian Americans. I don't necessarily know if it has the same everybody appeal as Everything Everywhere All at Once did. Just to illustrate this example, I was in a largely white theater. I am mixed, so I went with my white mother. And I would say 9 out of 10 times I was the only one laughing. That being said, I loved it. There are so many like cultural things that and one like cultural remark about the way that Asian people walk as we age with our hands behind our back and we're kind of slouchy. I have made that joke for the past, as soon as I started realizing I was doing it and becoming my father and grandparents, and I hated it, and then they made the exact same joke, and it felt so like, these people understand me. Incredible. I think that there's also a lot of really important this film does a good job handling social importance. There's female characters who are entirely independent and are not romantically involved at all, right? Which is incredible. There's a queer, neurodivergent character, and all of this is handled very, very intelligently, very, very tactfully, and very, 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 very well. That representation is incredible. The film is not without its flaws, however, and I think that what it does spectacularly representationally, it does kind of lack in maybe what I would call polish or technical ability. It doesn't really push any boundaries. It doesn't really do a whole lot to, which I appreciate, but I can understand like from a capital A art perspective, it doesn't have a whole lot to say. It just has like a lot to connect with. And again, I don't think it has a whole lot to connect with unless you kind of understand, unless you've come from some of these experiences. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But the characters are honestly kind of one note. Like each of the 4 friends has like their thing, and they don't really deviate from that too much. The plot is a little wonky in that it feels like it was 4 episodes of a serialized TV show kind of smushed together, where there's 4 kind of subplots to one overarching story that unify in the season finale, if you will. And
episodic.
It was, but not like intentionally so, which just makes it feel a little chaotic. And to be honest, I don't know if technically and like in terms of craftsmanship, the film does anything remarkably well. The score isn't like particularly, there was never any like, oh wow, how'd they pull that off, or man, that was so smart the way they did that. I think in general just kind of safe and not trying to be more than it is. And for that, I think it's fascinating with this kind of movie how to rate it. I know in the past I've done things where I try to separate and give a jaw rating for the film as art and give a jaw rating for the film as entertainment, which are 2 separate domains. I also look at this and say I would absolutely, highly recommend this film to other yellow millennials. Yellennials, as I'm deciding we're called. But I don't know. heartfully, I don't know if everybody else will get the same thing out of it, and that's another huge reason why I would highly recommend it to those peers of mine. And I think it doesn't do anything like above and beyond remarkable, but it also doesn't do anything offensively wrong, and that makes it hard to place. But I would honestly say I think I give her a 2 because of that. Despite how much I enjoyed it, despite how much, and this is a rave review, I loved this experience.
So
I don't think
you're-
it's for everybody, and I don't think it's like great.
What you're
I don't think
doing
we're-
here. What you're doing here is pulling a Matt K, where you rave about a movie and then you get down to the star rating and you're like, 2 Jaws.
Yeah.
Well,
because
that's the thing.
That's what a film critic does, Ryan.
My tastes are not reflexive of quality, you know? I'm just some jackass. I'm not the be-all, end-all of quality. I can like something that isn't good. I love something that's honestly just kind of a mediocre story and film, but I loved it.
You loved it
You know?
because it spoke to you personally. And
Nice.
Ryan's
Exactly.
tastes are not reflexive of quality either.
It is.
which
Yes.
We've learned
What
a long time
are you
ago.
talking about?
No.
Ryan is
Jaw
the arbiter
heads-
of taste.
Yes,
He is.
exactly.
That's true.
2 Jaws for Joyride from Phil.
I want to see it now. You've made me curious, which is, I think, the that's what you do.
It's playing in theaters everywhere, so get out there and see it. Matt and Jawheads that want to check it out. Thanks, Phil.
Of course, more than happy to.
All right, jump back in that fish tank.
You bet.
Matt, we left off on our number 2s as we were going through our AI list here.
Yeah. Whose turn was it?
And it was your turn, my
okay.
friend.
I'm going with Robin Williams as Andrew in Bicentennial Man.
Interesting pick.
I love Robin Williams. I love when Robin Williams turns in a more serious and heartfelt performance, which he doesn't do a whole lot in his career, but the ones that he did really stood out, right? This one is overlooked quite a bit. It also stars, oh my God, the guy from Jurassic Park.
Sam Neill.
Thank you, Sam Neill. It's an Isaac Asimov story based on the Positronic Man. And I read the book, loved the book. I actually think this is one of the rare cases, and I know this might be blasphemy to some, where I prefer the movie. I'm not going to say it's better than Asimov, the original, but I prefer the movie, and it's largely because of Robin Williams. He's just so easy to love on the screen. You know, you empathize with him. Therefore, Andrew's journey, which is also kind of Pinocchio-esque, these are common themes in AI, a man's creation gaining sentience. It's either Frankenstein or Pinocchio.
Right.
So his journey is so relatable because you can't help but love Robin Williams. So spending 200 years with Robin Williams seems like a short time. Seems like too short a time. And I love Bicentennial Man, and I will make no apologies.
I have never seen the movie. I know it.
Check it out.
It came out. I should say it came up a few times in the past.
It
and
sure has,
I
yeah.
still have not caught up with it, but I will at some point, man.
Maybe next time I bring it up, you'll finally watch it.
In 200 years, I will have it done.
There you go.
All right.
Perfect.
So I wanted to, when I made the list, come up with AI entities that were not in robot form.
That's fair.
I was trying to do that, and my top 2 picks are both the case, where they are not in robot form, but in basically they're living within the internet.
Right.
My number 2 pick could have been number 1. 2013, Her.
Yeah.
Her.
I mean, that's where I'd put it at number 1. In fact, I did, but
Spike Jonze directed this one. It's got Joaquin Phoenix, and he falls in love with
Samantha.
a AI program named Samantha, who's voiced by Scarlett Johansson.
Right.
And I love the way Spike Jonze shows us this near future. And it's a near future world where humans can't even interact with other humans without going through some form of technology. And I think we're almost there already.
I think we are there.
Yeah, it's scary to say that, but it's more pronounced in Her. I believe it's Joaquin Phoenix's character that even works at like a greeting card place because no one can even write and say anything to anyone anymore without going through,
Somebody else to
somebody
write
else to write it, or a program, or you got to get on some device to talk to someone. Gone is any interaction between human and human anymore. And so he has this AI, Samantha, who all it is a voice. And
She's an OS. She's an operating system.
Right. And he begins to fall in love with her and have this relationship.
They fall in love mutually.
They do. And that's one of the things that's amazing about Samantha, is that she can fall in love. And so there is this one strange scene in the movie where
The sex scene?
yes, where he actually tries to have someone replicate
Like a surrogate.
a surrogate come in and help Samantha into let's just say human form so that they can have sex.
In his defense, it was Samantha's idea to bring in the surrogate. Mm-hmm. And he dismisses it. He doesn't. I think he tries to go along with it, and then yes, hilariously awkward. The implications of it, like my dad walks around with his phone in his front pocket, like the character does in the movie, and it always creeps me out with the camera facing outward. Like, dude, what's going on? Like,
I know.
Put your phone in your pocket.
It's one of those too that it on paper it probably doesn't sound nearly as good as it came off on film, because man, was it spectacular when he's going around and showing Samantha the different parts of the world, because like you're saying, she can see out of this camera that he has in his pocket. You really care about this relationship that the two have. It's a wonderful picture.
It doesn't even seem from the outset that it's like doomed, right? Like this could work. Like they almost make it work, and then you know what? I don't even want to say. If you still haven't seen her, you're living under a rock. But just for those few jawheads who haven't, I won't spoil it.
I remember being blown away by it, and whenever I really love a movie like that, a lot of times I'm afraid to go back to it because I always remember the first experience that I had with the film, and that's where her still sits. I've only seen it the one time I sat down to watch it, and I've always thought, all right, at some point I got to go back and watch her again.
I agree, yeah. This is probably the year to do it.
Yep.
Joaquin Phoenix, we're going to be talking about him, I think. And Kristen Wiig is also in this.
Right.
Small role.
But
it's a great cast.
yeah, did you see that trailer for Napoleon?
No.
Oh, Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon.
Really?
In Ridley Scott. Epic film.
Damn.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah. But let's get back to our lists. Our number one picks for AI, Matt.
I had her, but I'm gonna.
Oh, you had her at number one.
I had her at number one.
Oh, wow. Sorry
Because,
to steal your number one.
Again, I think the reason is it's plausible, it's timely. I think this could happen. It could happen tomorrow. But I'm going to sub one out. We've already gone through some of my favorites, but I'm going to throw in. I'm going to throw in another robot, if that's okay.
You do you.
Actually, no. I'm not going to throw in a robot. I'm going to stick with an AI who's a program. Okay, I'm going with the MCU, Master Control from
War Games?
No, that's the Whopper. But that's a great call. Wow, I didn't even have that on my list, and I have like 13 listed.
Oh, I thought you were going War Games.
Wow. You know, that is a really good pick. What was the name of the AI in War Games? Joshua.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was named after the guy who created Sun.
Professor Falcon.
Right.
Yep. Shall we play a game? I actually was going to say, no, the MCU from Tron, not the MCU, the MC from Tron. Master Control Program, MCP. I wrote MCU because I'm so used to writing MCU. MCP. Master Control Program. Here's the first AI, and it is an AI that attacks the outside world with this laser that it hacks into and it gets control of to digitize Jeff Bridges and suck him into the world of the computer. And the first time we see this kind of visualization of what circuit boards look like, and how programs might be personified in this digital space, and the kinds of vehicles that they use to move through the different computer programs and stuff. And the MCP at the center of it all, this evil being, which was very early computer animation, just looks menacing and crazy. And his motivations are crazy. He's got a human, just like Mission Impossible, he's got a human, let's call it a familiar for lack of a better term, like the Renfield to its Dracula, working things, pulling strings in the real world, Tron, number one. I don't feel guilty about that. It's a worthy substitution.
That's fun. That's a fun pick right there. I wouldn't want War Games or Tron. Those are both great picks.
I agree with that War Games pick. That is great.
So my number one, I went all-time classic. And
what do you do to top those picks?
I know those are some heavy hitters, but I got you beat here. All the way back in 1968, and that's where I really want to focus on this. And the only reason I was teetering with not putting it at number one is because the movie's
a robot, right?
Talking about so much more.
Is this Westworld?
No.
Okay.
2001: A Space Odyssey. Stanley Kubrick gave us hell.
Dude, of course.
Right?
Of course.
And, I was writing the notes for this, and it hit me. Think about that for a second. 1968, he's got hell.
Pre-70s even.
And now we're here in 2023, and it seems so almost more relevant now than it possibly could have to anybody in 1968 when they were watching the movie. Like, what? Oh, that's funny. The robot's not opening up the pod bay doors. Like, that's funny. But to us now, oh my God, this could really happen. The computers could take over,
Yeah.
And Hal's voice is phenomenal throughout. It's just eerie how calm Hal's voice is. And in fact, here's the wonderful clip when Hal finally does not do what Dave asks.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me. And I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Haunting.
It is. Isn't it haunting?
Yeah.
I mean, just it's so creepy.
I like when Hal sings the song, too.
Yes.
Daisy, Daisy. Oof.
I saw this 70 millimeter at Music Box. I know I said that about Dunkirk earlier, but I also went for like a midnight screening, and I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey. Not, this umpteenth time I've seen it. I've had it on Blu-ray. I've probably seen it, at least 10 times in my life. And it's just better. It ages better every time I see it. I love 2001.
I have to rewatch it. It's been some time since I've seen it. I think I saw it the last time I saw it was probably in the aughts. But maybe even the 90s. I got to watch it again.
Quick honorable mentions here, Matt.
Go.
War Games was one of them. Megan from earlier this year.
I got Megan on
You got Megan on yours?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that movie's going to age well. And the Terminator. You could just say the Terminator series.
Sure. Tars from Interstellar. That weird, roly robot.
Wow, I forgot about that. Yes.
Great
what was
character.
the name of it?
Tars.
Interesting.
It stood for Tactical Advanced Robot or something like that.
Yeah, I like the way it moved and everything. It was pretty neat.
It was very interesting character design. Bishop from Aliens. The robots in Aliens are very
always
cool.
good.
The synthetics. The droids in Star Wars. But see, now here we're getting into more robots.
Yeah.
But I think this one counts. Agent Smith from the Matrix films. He was an AI more than anything else. The agents.
Right.
I like that.
Jawheads, if we missed your favorite AI movie or character and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet or you can always email us. Our email is feedback@cinemajaw.com. We like to end all of our podcasts with some fun trivia, and without a guess, that means we play Stump the Kubinski, in which Matt gets 5 questions hurled over at him, and he has to answer 3 correctly not to be stumped.
I won't be stumped.
In honor of Mission Impossible cast, and we're talking all Mission Impossibles. So anybody who's been in Mission Impossible.
Everybody's been in. There's 7 movies.
7 movies.
Almost 20 years they've been making these.
You're way off on that, Matt.
No, I'm not. The first one came out in 96.
Right.
So it's 2023.
More than 20 years. It's almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Here we go. Question number 1 over to you. Dead Reckoning has a runaway train sequence in the film. Name the actor who played John Phelps in the original Mission Impossible and also starred in the 1985 film Runaway Train.
Can you read that all over again?
Dead Reckoning has a runaway train sequence in it. So name the actor who played John Phelps in the original Mission Impossible, who also starred in the 1985 film Runaway Train.
Wow. The original Mission Impossible.
Main character. A main character.
And are you, for my clarification too, are you talking about the movie or the TV show by original?
Yes, the original movie.
Runaway. We're not talking about the song by not Blind Melon, Soul Asylum. Was that who sung Runaway Train? You know this? All right.
I don't know, but I know the
think
answer.
Is it Leon the Professional?
That is incorrect. We were looking for John Voight.
I was going to guess John Voight. All right.
John Voight. He was the main villain in the first Mission Impossible.
What was his name?
John Phelps. Jim Phelps, sorry.
Those
That
damn
wouldn't have helped
Gideons.
you anyways.
Those damn Gideons.
All right. Question 2 over to you, Matt. You are 0 for 1. Question 2. This actor appears in Mission Impossible 3, Boogie Nights, Moneyball, and The Big Lebowski, among others. Name the actor.
That is Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yes, and that would be my pick for the best villain in a Mission Impossible series. I didn't want to say it earlier because I didn't want to spoil this trivia question. But I recently came across Mission Impossible 3 on Pluto TV, and you just forget how great Philip Seymour Hoffman is as a bad guy.
He was really good. That's fair.
He's awesome. Matt is 1 for 2. Question 3 is over to him. One of these 3 actors appears in a Mission Impossible film. Is it Christopher Plummer, Alec Baldwin, or Ed Harris? One of those 3.
Oh, wow. All 3 of them I can imagine in a Mission Impossible movie.
One of those 3 appears in a Mission Impossible movie. Christopher Plummer, Alec Baldwin, or Ed Harris?
I'm going to say Ed Harris.
That is incorrect.
Is it Christopher Plummer?
That is incorrect.
Oh, wow. It's Baldwin, huh?
That is incorrect. Yes.
None of them
no, I'm
did? Oh,
joking.
okay.
It was
It's a
Alec
trick
Baldwin.
question. None of them are in.
It was Alec Baldwin. Matt is 1 for 3. He needs to get these last 2 correct. I think this is an easy one.
Okay, good.
Besides Tom Cruise, so no Tom Cruise.
Damn it. I was going to say Tom Cruise.
Name 3 other actors who have appeared in multiple Mission Impossible films.
Oh, okay. Simon Pegg.
Correct.
Ving Rhames.
Correct.
And multiple, meaning more
Just
than 2?
more than 1.
Oh, okay. Rebecca Ferguson.
Correct. That is correct.
Ding.
Yes. You could have also went Jeremy Renner,
Yep.
Michelle Monaghan, Vanessa Kirby, who appeared in this
And
one. She was
Carrie
in the
Elwes,
last one.
too.
Yes, and also Alec Baldwin. He was in 2 of them. He was in 5 and 6.
The guy that plays Kittredge has been in, I think, most of them as well.
So you had multiple choices there.
Yeah.
But Matt got question 4, which means he's 2 for 4. He needs this last one. I think I made it easy. Here we go.
Did Jeremy Renner's character die?
No.
Okay,
I
good.
don't think he did.
Good. Well, he'll be back then.
Yeah. Well, he's on, tough times, the actor
Oh, yeah,
himself,
yeah.
after his accident. So not positive he was able to appear in the movie.
Yeah.
Number 5, here you go. Henry Cavill appears in Mission Impossible Fallout, which was the 6th film.
Yeah, the mustache scene.
Yep. Henry Cavill made one movie with Guy Ritchie. It came out in 2015, and we reviewed it on the show. Name the movie.
Wow. Okay. It's not The Gentleman. That was way later. That was like 2020, I think. Guy Ritchie. It was before his return to form, I believe. Was it one of the bad Guy Ritchie movies? Shit. I'm not going to come up with the title of this.
Can I give you a small hint?
Yeah, please.
It was based on an older TV show.
Based on an older TV show? Starsky and Hutch?
That is incorrect. We're looking for The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E., yeah. It was definitely one of the bad Guy Ritchie movies.
It wasn't awful, but he wasn't had returned to form. I agree with that. It was in a lull period there for Guy Ritchie.
Yeah. He's back, folks, by the way. I think he's back.
He's got a new movie out I haven't seen this year with Jake Gyllenhaal.
We should watch that.
Yeah, we will watch it.
Okay.
We'll talk
It's not
about it.
out yet? Or?
No, it's out. It already played in the theaters. It'll be hitting digital probably pretty soon,
Oh,
if
maybe
not by now.
We do a screening, a streaming review.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be good. Matt is stumped this week, and I know the Jawheads, they hate it because I got to go, wah, wah, wah. He only gets 2 out of 5 correct on Mission Impossible trivia.
Stumping me is not an impossible mission, Ryan. Clearly.
No, it is not. But ending the podcast sometimes is, unless we just stop talking. And we have to stop talking at some point.
Eventually, yeah.
Yes.
Unless we could just get you know what we forgot? ChatGPT.
Right.
We got to do this.
We got to do it at the end of the show here. Drum roll here, please. We put into ChatGPT what its favorite top 5 AI movies are, and here's what it gave us.
All right, Ryan. It actually, I have the results here. You know what? I'll just read it to you, okay? This is what ChatGPT says because they train it to say this. As an AI language model, I don't have personal opinions or preferences. However, I can give you my personal opinions and preferences anyway. It's not exactly what it says. I can provide you with a list of popular movies about AI that have received critical acclaim and garnered significant attention from audiences. It then goes on to list. And it has a bit of a description after each one. I'll spare you, okay? At number 5, it goes with AI, artificial intelligence, all the way down at number 5.
On my list, all right.
At number 4, The Matrix.
Honorable mention for us.
Yes, indeed. And I think it's definitely a good one. At 3, Her.
On my list at number 2. Well done, chat.
At number 2, it has Ex Machina.
On my list, chat. Was chat listening to me this whole time?
Yeah.
Do you got that microphone on your phone on at all times?
And at number 1, it has one that we missed.
At number 1?
Yeah. Blade Runner.
Nice.
1982 neo-noir science fiction film directed by Ridley Scott exploring the themes of artificial intelligence, identity, and humanity.
I teetered with it. I don't want to even say that I forgot about Blade Runner. But to me, that one isn't so much about AI, like artificial intelligence, as it is about is the robot alive or not. Like, it's a little bit different in the sense of like, the program of the entity of the AI.
Right. They're not embodied. You like the disembodied AI.
I really do.
Yeah.
Where Blade Runner, it's almost, it's always confronting that question of what is life. If we give life to these robots and they can have feelings, doesn't that count as life at some point?
Yes.
Why do we not say that that's not, a living being?
Yeah, it's creepy.
It is weird to think about that way.
Yeah, you should ask ChatGPT about it after the show.
I will. We'll get his response.
Yeah, this thing is great.
Okay,
it's lots of fun.
You know what? Phil's also great.
I agree.
Phil's also a lot of fun.
Phil is also a lot of fun.
Let's thank Phil.
Oh, thank you so much. I promise I'm just some jabroni. I could not have come up with something as quick as ChatGPT did, so that's got to say something. And I also want to point out not only how much I love the both of you, but in particular, for loyal Jawheads, I hope you all noticed that when Matt K was reading ChatGPT, he put on a GPT voice, and it was truly delightful. It is truly delightful.
Thank you, Phil.
And thank you to the Patreons who support the show.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I was going to just do it in my Hal voice for the rest of the episode. Thank you, patrons. We thank you kindly.
If you want to join us over on Patreon, the easiest way to do so is just go over to patreon.com/CinemaJaw. It would mean the world to us to support us there, and we're always trying to do some fun extras for the Patreons. So please join us there. Also, you can leave us a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. That also helps us attract new listeners.
It really does.
It really does. Until next week, I'm Ryan, the movie guy.
And I'm Matt K. And keep on jawing about the movies.